In a small, isolated frontier town, the air was filled with the sounds of hard work and determination. Settlers had come from far away, dreaming of a better life in this untamed land. Tall trees surrounded the town, their leaves whispering secrets in the gentle wind. The sun rose high in the sky, casting warm rays on simple wooden homes built with strong hands and hope. Every morning, the settlers rose with the sun. They tended to their farms, planting seeds for crops that would one day nourish their families. Children played nearby, their laughter echoing through the fields as they chased each other under the watchful eyes of their parents. The townsfolk shared stories about their dreams and ambitions while working side by side, united by their struggles and triumphs. But life in this frontier town was not without challenges. Harsh winters and unpredictable storms could sweep in without warning, making survival a test of grit and perseverance. Rumors of wild animals lurking nearby added an element of danger that kept everyone alert. Each settler knew that every day meant hard work and sacrifice. In this setting lived Sarah, a pregnant woman feeling both excitement and fear for what lay ahead. As she watched others toil under the sun, she felt a mix of hope and anxiety. Would her husband return soon? Would she experience joy or struggle when her baby finally arrived? Surrounded by a close-knit community yet deeply alone, Sarah's heart longed for companionship and reassurance as she prepared for the unknown journey into motherhood. Sarah sat on the wooden porch of her small home, her hands resting gently on her swollen belly. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, but the beauty of the evening did little to ease the ache in her heart. It had been weeks since her husband, Thomas, left to find supplies and seek help for their struggling farm. Each day without his presence felt like an eternity, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being abandoned. As the days turned into weeks, the weight of loneliness pressed heavily on her shoulders. Neighbors were kind, offering help here and there, but it wasn't the same as having Thomas by her side. She missed his laughter, his reassuring words, and the way he would wrap his arms around her, making her feel safe. Instead, she spent long hours tending to the garden and preparing for their baby's arrival, all while wondering if he would ever return. At night, as she lay in bed beneath a quilt stitched with care, Sarah stared at the ceiling and listened to the sounds of the night. Crickets chirped outside, creating a symphony of solitude that echoed her feelings. She often imagined what life would be like when the baby arrived. Would she have someone to share her joys and sorrows with? The thought filled her with both excitement and dread. In this lonely world, Sarah's hope flickered like a candle in the wind. She clung to the belief that Thomas would come back to her, bringing light into her life again. But as time passed, doubt crept in, leaving her feeling more isolated than ever. As time went on, Sarah faced the daily challenges of preparing for motherhood while managing the chores that piled up around her. Each morning, she rose before the sun, knowing that there were fields to tend and meals to prepare. The garden needed watering, and as her belly grew, her movements became more cumbersome. But she pushed through, determined to provide for her unborn child despite the weight of her worries. Carrying heavy buckets of water from the well was a test of strength, and Sarah often felt exhausted by midday. She would pause to rest under a tree, listening to the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze while taking deep breaths to calm her racing heart. The wilderness surrounding her was both beautiful and intimidating. It held secrets and dangers that made her wary. At times, she heard howling in the distance, a reminder that wild animals roamed nearby. As she worked the land, Sarah couldn't help but imagine what it would be like to hold her baby in her arms. Thoughts of sleepless nights and unconditional love brought comfort during tough moments. Yet fear lingered, too, fear of raising a child alone in such a harsh environment. Would she be able to protect her baby if danger ever came knocking at their door? Still, every little task became a testament to her resolve. She sewed tiny clothes from leftover fabric scraps with shaky hands, dreaming of a future filled with laughter and joy. With each stitch, she tried to weave hope into reality, telling herself that soon enough, she would not just be preparing for motherhood, she would embrace it wholeheartedly. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah's hope wavered like a flickering candle in a drafty room. She often found herself staring at the horizon, yearning for any sign of Thomas's return. The sun would rise and fall each day, but with it came the weight of her isolation. Although her neighbors offered glimpses of support, their kindness could not fill the emptiness left by her husband's absence. Every time she heard a wagon approaching or footsteps on the dirt path, her heart would leap with anticipation, only to sink back into despair when no familiar face appeared. Sarah felt as though the walls of her world were closing in, leaving her trapped between hope and helplessness. Each moment stretched endlessly, amplifying her anxieties about the future. Yet within that despair lingered a glimmer of hope. She thought often about her baby and what joys motherhood could bring. Each small movement felt like a promise, a reminder that new life was growing within her. Sarah envisioned holding her child close to her chest and whispering stories full of love and encouragement. Those dreams gave her strength during lonely nights when shadows danced on the walls, taunting her with fears of failure and abandonment. With each passing day, she struggled to balance the joy of impending motherhood with an overwhelming sense of solitude. Would she have the courage to raise this child alone? What if Thomas never returned? As these thoughts spiraled in her mind, Sarah clung fiercely to hope, believing that one day soon, the silence would be broken and their family would be whole again. One stormy night, the wind howled like a wolf, rattling the wooden shutters of Sarah's home. Rain fell in relentless sheets, drumming against the roof and creating a symphony of chaos outside. Wrapped in a blanket, Sarah sat by the window, watching the darkness swirl and feeling the weight of her thoughts. Just as she began to lose herself in worry, a loud knock echoed through the house, breaking the storm's tumultuous rhythm. Heart racing, Sarah hesitated for a moment, wondering if her mind was playing tricks on her. But the knock came again, urgent and insistent. Bracing herself, she stood slowly and made her way to the door, fear mingling with curiosity. When she opened it, a tall figure stood silhouetted against the flash of lightning. He was drenched from head to toe, his face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. "Please," he pleaded, his voice rough yet calm. "I need shelter from the storm." Instinctively cautious yet moved by his desperate state, Sarah stepped aside to let him in. As he crossed the threshold, she took in his rugged appearance, mud-streaked clothes and weary eyes that held stories of their own. "My name is Jack," he introduced himself, shaking off rain like a dog as he stepped into her warm home. Though Sarah felt a mix of apprehension and intrigue, she invited him to sit down, sensing that this mysterious man might be a turning point in her lonely existence. Little did she know that Jack's arrival would change everything. As Jack settled into Sarah's modest home, she observed him closely, her heart a mix of curiosity and caution. Though he presented himself as a weary traveler seeking refuge from the storm, the shadows on his face hinted at a past he wasn't eager to share. Sarah offered him a warm drink, but as Jack accepted it with gratefulness, her mind swirled with questions. What brought him here? What had he fled from? She tried to focus on the kindness in his eyes, but the unease lingered like a thin veil between them. While Jack spoke of his travels and shared tales that seemed genuine enough, Sarah noticed how he often deflected questions about his life before this moment. Each time she sought more information, he would shift the topic or offer vague responses that left her feeling unsettled. Having lived in isolation for so long, Sarah was torn between hoping Jack could be a companion in her solitude and fearing he might carry danger alongside him. The vulnerability of being pregnant only intensified her anxieties. What if he had been running from something, or someone, that could threaten her and her unborn child? Yet despite her hesitation, she sensed an undeniable warmth in Jack's demeanor when he spoke about family and dreams. Maybe there was a chance he could bring comfort to her lonely existence. As she pondered whether to trust him, Sarah reminded herself that she needed help. The weight of motherhood loomed ahead, and Jack was here now, perhaps just when she needed him most. As the storm outside began to fade, Jack quickly settled into a rhythm of helping Sarah with the daily chores. His strong hands made light work of tasks that had become increasingly challenging for her as her pregnancy progressed. He chopped firewood with ease, filling the small woodpile and ensuring the home stayed warm. Sarah watched him with a mix of gratitude and growing affection, appreciating how his presence offered her relief from the burden of isolation. Jack also took to the garden, pulling weeds and tending to the vegetables that had begun to sprout. Sarah had worried that the garden would wither without her full attention, but Jack's diligent work breathed new life into it. They shared conversations as they worked side by side, Jack's stories of distant places and adventures slowly chipping away at her initial apprehension. With each passing day, their bond deepened. Sarah found herself laughing at his tales and enjoying the camaraderie more than she ever expected. Jack's kindness was a balm to her lonely heart, and she felt a warmth growing in her chest each time he looked at her with genuine interest. In quiet moments, as they sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Sarah felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in months. She began to open up about her fears and dreams for motherhood. Jack listened intently, offering words of encouragement that eased her worries. Slowly but surely, trust started to blossom between them, and Sarah realized that perhaps she wasn't as alone as she once thought. As days turned into weeks, a deep bond began to form between Sarah and Jack. Their shared moments evolved from simple conversations about chores to meaningful exchanges about their lives, dreams, and fears. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun melt into the horizon, Sarah opened up about her hopes for her baby. She spoke of the love she wanted to give and the kind of life she dreamed of building, even in her current solitude. Jack listened intently, his warm gaze encouraging her to share more. He revealed fragments of his own past, stories of family lost and battles fought on his journey. His voice held a blend of strength and vulnerability that resonated with Sarah, allowing her to feel a sense of connection she had long yearned for. In those moments, they found solace in each other, both seeking comfort from the loneliness that had haunted them. As they exchanged stories, laughter bubbled up between them, washing away the lingering anxieties that had built up over time. Jack's humorous tales of misadventures brought lightness to Sarah's heart, while her genuine laughter seemed to invigorate him. They discovered a shared understanding that transcended words. Both had faced abandonment and uncertainty, but together, they found a flicker of hope. Soon, their relationship blossomed into an unspoken partnership filled with mutual support. What began as mere companionship slowly transformed into an emotional refuge for both, allowing them to envision brighter futures, together. In each other's presence, Sarah felt less alone, while Jack found a sense of belonging he hadn't realized he was missing. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Sarah noticed a distant look in Jack's eyes. He had been quiet for a while, lost in thought, and she sensed it was time to encourage him to share more about himself. "Jack, you've told me about your travels, but I'd like to know more about your past. What brought you to this part of the world?" He hesitated for a moment, as if weighing his words, then began to speak. "I was born into a family of farmers," he started, his voice low and steady. "But life was hard back home. My father struggled with the land and my mother, well, she left when I was young." He paused, allowing Sarah to digest the weight of his words. "I tried to hold things together after that," he continued, "but when things got really tough, my father couldn't take it anymore. One day, he just vanished, abandoned us all." Jack's expression darkened as he relayed how he had wandered the frontier ever since, moving from place to place, searching for a sense of belonging and purpose. As Sarah listened, her heart swelled with compassion for him. She realized that Jack understood her feelings of abandonment all too well. He was not just some stranger but a kindred spirit who had also experienced deep loss. The shared burden of their pasts forged an even stronger connection between them. In that moment of vulnerability, Sarah saw glimpses of hope, not just for herself and her child but for Jack as well. They were both on a journey toward healing, and perhaps together they could find what they had lost. As the days slipped by and Sarah's due date approached, her feelings for Jack began to deepen in ways she hadn't anticipated. What once felt like a chance encounter evolved into a comforting presence that filled the void left by her husband's absence. She found herself looking forward to their moments together, whether it was working side by side in the garden or sharing laughter over simple meals. One afternoon, as they sat on the porch, watching the sun cast golden hues across the sky, Sarah felt an undeniable warmth spreading in her chest. Jack's kindness and understanding had seeped into her heart, making her see him not just as a stranger but as someone who mattered deeply. The way he listened intently when she spoke about her worries and dreams made her feel valued, something she had longed for since Thomas vanished. When Jack placed a gentle hand on her shoulder during conversations, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of safety and comfort. He was there for her, he cared. As she approached the final weeks of her pregnancy, she began to imagine what life would be like with him in it, not just as a friend or companion but possibly as a partner in raising her child. She envisioned Jack being there during the birth, offering support and strength when she needed it most. The idea filled her with hope and excitement. Each shared moment brought them closer, and Sarah realized that perhaps what she had feared was becoming something beautiful, an unexpected bond built on shared experiences and compassion that could thrive even amid uncertainty. One night, as a fierce storm raged outside, Sarah suddenly felt a sharp, intense pain that took her breath away. It was a feeling she had both anticipated and dreaded. Labor had begun. Panic surged through her as she gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady herself while the wind howled and rain pounded against the walls of their home. "Jack," she called out, her voice strained with urgency. He rushed into the room, concern etched on his face as he realized what was happening. The warmth and comfort of their earlier moments melted away, replaced by the stark reality of their situation. The storm outside raged on, and the world felt like it was closing in on them. Okay, Jack said, trying to remain calm despite the chaos. He quickly gathered supplies, blankets, towels, and whatever else he could find to help Sarah through this unexpected crisis. But with each wave of pain, Sarah's anxiety heightened. She had never imagined giving birth without a doctor nearby, and the thought filled her with dread. The thunder cracked loudly, shaking the house, and Sarah felt another contraction wash over her. "I can't do this alone," she exclaimed, tears welling in her eyes. Jack moved closer, his voice steady and reassuring. "You're not alone, Sarah. I'm right here with you. We'll get through this together." His presence provided a flicker of hope amid the tempest surrounding them, reminding her that even in her darkest hour, she had someone by her side. As the storm outside howled, Sarah braced herself for the challenge ahead, knowing she had Jack's support as they faced the unknown together. As Sarah's contractions intensified, Jack stepped up with an urgency that surprised even him. He had never delivered a baby before, but the determination in his heart pushed aside any fear. The thunder continued to rumble outside, matching the chaos of the moment, yet he remained focused on Sarah. "Okay, Sarah," he said, kneeling beside her and taking her hand firmly but gently. "I need you to breathe deeply. We can do this together." His voice was calm and steady, wrapped around her like a warm blanket. With each wave of pain, Sarah felt both fearful and relieved by Jack's presence. He quickly gathered everything they might need, blankets, clean towels, and warm water, all while keeping his gaze locked on her. He remembered the stories he had heard about childbirth, though he knew it would be tough. He channeled those memories into a resolve to help her. As another contraction surged through her body, Jack held her hand tighter and encouraged her to push. "Come on, you're strong. You can do this." His words rang with belief in her abilities as much as in his own commitment to stand by her side. Finally, after what felt like an eternity filled with pain and determination, Sarah felt a shift, something that told her the end was near. With one last powerful push and Jack's unwavering support behind her, their world changed. In that stormy room filled with tension and noise, a new life began to emerge. When the baby finally arrived into Jack's waiting hands, tears streamed down his face, a mix of joy and disbelief illuminated by flashes of lightning outside. They had weathered the storm together, and in that moment of triumph, Jack knew he would always stand by Sarah and their child as their newfound family began to take shape. As the first cries of the newborn filled the room, Sarah and Jack shared a moment of pure joy and relief. The storm outside began to fade, mirroring the tumultuous journey they had just endured together. Jack held the baby gently in his arms, marveling at the tiny features and delicate breaths. "You did it, Sarah," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "He's beautiful." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she gazed at her child, a sense of wonder washing over her. This child was not just a new life, he represented hope and a future they could build together. In that precious moment, she felt an overwhelming surge of love, not only for her baby but also for Jack, who had stood by her side through every difficult moment. Jack carefully placed the baby in Sarah's waiting arms, feeling an unexplainable connection form among the three of them. As she cradled her child close to her heart, she realized that their little family was forged not just by circumstance but by shared experiences and deepening love. They had both been abandoned in different ways yet had found something wholly new in one another. Looking into Jack's eyes, Sarah felt a sense of belonging she had yearned for since her husband's departure. "We're a family now," she said softly, sensing the promise of what lay ahead. With Jack beside her and their baby cradled in her arms, Sarah finally understood that she was no longer alone. She had found a partner, a friend, and a new beginning filled with love and hope. In the days that followed the birth, Sarah and Jack found themselves adjusting to their new life as a family. The once quiet home was now filled with the sounds of a baby's coos and gentle cries, breaking the silence that had enveloped them for so long. As they shared the responsibilities of parenthood, they embraced each challenge with newfound strength and determination. Jack took on the role of protector and provider, venturing out to gather supplies and maintain their small farm while Sarah nurtured their child. Together, they explored the intricate weave of love, patience, and resilience that came with being new parents. Each day brought opportunities to learn and grow as individuals and as a family. Sitting on the porch one sunny afternoon, Sarah cradled her baby in her arms while Jack fixed up some old chairs. They exchanged smiles filled with unspoken understanding, a recognition that this journey had bound them together in ways they could have never imagined. With every passing moment, any remnants of loneliness faded away, leaving behind a sense of completion. As they faced the future, both realized they were not just partners but allies in life's unpredictable adventure. Although challenges would undoubtedly arise, rationing food during harsh winters or ensuring safety against wild animals, they felt confident facing whatever hurdles lay ahead. They were ready to take on anything together. In each other's eyes, there was a promise of unwavering support and love. Together, they would navigate through storms, both literal and metaphorical, emerging stronger. With their hearts full of hope and dreams for what lay ahead, Sarah and Jack stepped into this new chapter hand in hand, ready to embrace the life they'd created together.